Hi, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube Blind Community monthly live stream on this channel. We do it the first Sunday or sometimes the first Saturday of every month. And we've been doing it for about a year and a half. And my co-host is Paul's Blind Soup for the Soul, and his channel is linked down below in the description box. And our special guest today is John Bramblett, a world-renowned, recognized artist, visual artist. And he has two links. I have his YouTube link down below and his website link. And I want to introduce John. But anyway, welcome, John and Paul.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, and before we get started, I want to introduce John and tell you a little bit about him. So, just a minute, I have to read this while I'm. Oops, I have the camera off. Yeah, I wanted the camera off while I was introducing him because I have to read it. Sorry, I wanted to. So, John, he is an artist, writer, and public speaker. In addition to his beautiful acrylic paintings, he is the only blind mural painter in the world. And let's see. He makes his living as a visual artist, and his works have been sold in over 20 different countries, and he's received the President's Service Award for the workshops he teaches. He's painted portraits of skateboarder Tony Hawk and blues legend Pops Carter. He's given talks about his art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and there has even been a documentary made about him. Welcome, John, again.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be back here.
Great. So let's see if we have anybody to say hello to. Let me see. I'll give me. Well, thank you. Hi, Lisa. And so you have your easel set up for us to look at a painting that you have in progress, because I guess you've been asked this question a lot over the years, but a lot of everybody who comes here isn't going to necessarily know of. There's a special way that you paint because that involves touch. Is that right? Like you're the way you know the colors is by touch. Is that right?
Yeah. I use different mediums to be able to like I change the way each color feels. It's not like I wish I could just touch a color and know what it is. Like a t-shirt, touch a red t-shirt, know it's red, but no, with the paint, I actually mix different mediums in with it, and that's how I'm able to determine color. And there's other ways to do it too. Like you can use a recipe system and other things, but the most fun way though is by using the texture.
So, and then you visualize the painting in your mind, or something, or you can see it a little bit, but mostly you visualize it in your mind or something.
Yeah, but which is exactly the same the way when I started painting about 20 years ago, I didn't really understand painting. I always did art all my life, but I didn't think it would be possible for a visually impaired person to paint. And after I lost the last bit of my vision, I really didn't think it'd be possible. But you start learning how to do everything in new ways, how to and especially how to travel independently, like how to cross an entire town by just using a stick, a white cane or a dog. And I thought, well, my goodness, if you can cross the city, surely you could cross something much smaller like a canvas if you use the same techniques. So the way that I navigate around a canvas is the exact same way that I navigate around a city or a room, or it's really the same ideas. I just adapted it and put it on a canvas.
Oh, that's amazing. So, and that's what you teach in your workshops?
Yeah, we sure do. And about 2 years ago, my wife and I were both made cultural ambassadors for the United States, and they send us to other countries to spread art in the culture. Although it was bad timing though, because that's right when COVID hit, so it's not a whole lot of traveling. It's a lot of Zoom calls.
Oh, so it did not involve real actual travel?
A little, like we went to Brazil, and I worked with the blind services there and some universities and the government there to with their services. But right after the trip to Brazil, all travel clamped down, and now it's starting to open back up again. So we're starting to travel around and do things, and things are getting back to normal. But in a way, it was a positive because I used to fly 2 or 3 times a month, going different places, and we drive all over the place doing shows and talks. But with everybody going online because of COVID, now you can go all over the world, and people are kind of used to that, and so you can stay at home and stay in your studio and be able to reach out and talk to all kinds of wonderful people.
Yeah, so there's a positive to it.
Yeah, surprisingly, I thought things would get kind of boring. I thought, well, I'm gonna get caught up in a lot of painting in the studio. There's going to be a lot of things to do now, and things actually got more busy because it's so easy to drop into a classroom somewhere, or to give a talk or this or that, because all you gotta do is turn on the camera.
Yeah. And
what you guys are doing is really special. And I thank you so much for having me back on here. This is so cool. It's spreading art, especially for people with visual impairments. It's just incredible. I mean, it literally has saved my life.
We have a question from Lisa in the chat. Did you have a schedule for the government, or how did you know to go to Brazil?
Oh yeah. They invited me there. The Brazilian government actually wanted me to come, and then they were having a huge financial problem in the State Department. The U.S. State Department stepped in and said,
it's me. Sorry. Sorry.
No, but the State Department stepped in, and they said, "Hey, we want to make this happen." And so they made a cultural ambassador. Sorry, now I got allergies. I've been coughing all day. It's hard to talk. But so they asked us to go there and do that, and that's a lot of fun. But I do a lot of talking with museums and stuff. So. And that it was museums in Brazil that wanted me to come, so it just sort of a natural kind of fit.
How did you become a cultural ambassador? Did you have to apply for it, or it was invitational?
It's invitational. It's a weird kind of thing, honestly. It's just, if there's a need for it, and they'll ask somebody to go and do it. It's a weird sort of thing. Like I've known some musicians that have done it, like jazz musicians, and they're spreading American culture in different places, different things. So it's just sort of a strange thing that the State Department does. It's just odd, but I'm glad they have it. I mean, it's wonderful. You don't really get paid much, but but it's a wonderful experience to be able to go and talk about art and spread art, especially the stuff that I do, the workshops that I do. It also spreads disability awareness, and that's a huge thing.
Absolutely. What was Brazil like?
Oh, I love Brazil. That was my second time there. The first time I went there was to paint a 737 for the Rock in Rio concert, and that's the biggest concert on the planet. And I was working with all these different musicians, and to come up with ideas to be able to paint this plane to represent the concert. And the people are just incredibly friendly. It's just wonderful. And then the chance to go back and revisit it and go different places, and it was just awesome. I can't wait for all the sanctions and everything, like COVID, and to open up a little bit more so I could go back there. And it's just a really friendly place.
How long were you there?
I'm terrible with time. I don't know. It wasn't very long. Maybe a week or two.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It was
long
very
enough to embrace the
busy
culture and kind of see how they do things there.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, especially the first time I went when I was working on the 737. I was working with an airline, so they were flying me all over the place, which was a lot of fun. We got to see Rio, got to see Sao Paulo, and got to meet all kinds of different people and be able to visit different schools and different places and talk to children all over Brazil. it was an experience I never thought I would have had. It was a real blessing for me.
How was
go ahead,
the food
Paul.
there? How was the food? Did you like the food? What was it
Oh
good?
my goodness, yes. The first time that I actually went with my mom. It was we were traveling so much, and the visas getting my seeing eye dog there was a little wonky. So it was a little weird that I didn't want Eagle to have to go through any kind of quarantine or anything like that. So my mom stepped up and she said, I'll be your seeing eye person. And so we got to go with each other, and it was such a great experience. And to be able to go around, and they gave us a translator and a guide. So you get to travel around and go to in the neighborhoods and actually go into restaurants that everybody eats at, and it's just the food is delicious. Oh my word! Well, one of the first things we did when we got back was stop off at a Brazilian grocery store to stock up on different things so I could try to cook it back at home.
Did they have a lot of street food there?
They do. I wasn't able to go to as much of the street food because they just had it. Everything was just kind of packed. What I was doing, like I was going to a school and going there, so I didn't have a lot of free time to be able to go around.
Yeah.
And what I did, it seemed like the translator had particular restaurants that she really, really wanted to go to. She was like, "All right, this is a great opportunity for me to eat at my favorite place," and so she was sharing that, and that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yes.
But I don't normally get to eat it like fancy restaurants and go on fancy trips. I'm usually my day-to-day life is in front of an easel, and with a like the t-shirt underneath this is covered in paint. All my clothes are covered in paint. It's my normal day-to-day. I put on a button up just before I got on the call with you guys, so I'd look a little better.
Yeah.
So when you teach workshops, it's a certain techniques that you teach, like in a step-by-step way or something?
I started working in museums about 15 years ago, and I had different workshops for children with visual impairments, for children that have autism, for adults with visual impairments. I had about 32 different workshops, but then I started learning that if you teach art in a multimodal sort of way, it's a multi-sensory way where you're just engaging all of the senses, that you don't really need to break up the workshops like that. And so I started doing workshops where everybody is mixed in together. So you may have a professional artist that their careers are sitting next to a child who is visually impaired and never painted before, next to someone who might have autism. And then everybody else in the class might not have a disability at all. 99% of the people that come to my workshops don't have disabilities.
Oh, okay.
But it's incredible though, because it's so much fun. You think mixing everybody together would be kind of chaotic, but it turns out it's a freeing sort of experience. Like the child that has a visual impairment and has never painted before is asking questions that professional artist, who lives, that's the way they make, their livelihood. That's the way they is asking questions that they never thought of, and the professional artist is able to show techniques and ideas that that little girl had never thought of, and it's just sort of a give and take, and it really works. It's a lot of fun.
So I feel I'm confused about how so when you create something, how do you see what you've created?
It's funny. It's the exact same way that a sighted person would, and I mean the same part of your brain that makes dreams and imagination is the same part that a sighted person uses to see. The only part of vision that the eye is for, it just lets the light in. So there's about 13 centers of the brain that actually makes an image whenever somebody's seeing something.
Yeah.
And only the first two are have anything to do with the eye. All the rest are centers in the brain, and that's the same centers that when you're imagining something, if you're dreaming.
Yeah.
So it's funny to your brain if you're having a dream at night and what you're seeing in the dream seems real. You have that dream and you think like, oh my goodness, I feel like I was there. that's the exact same part of your brain that you're seeing images with your eyes. So whenever I do art, I use my hands to replace all the work that my eyes used to do. So, it's the same way as if I'm guiding around a room and I'm feeling the walls, I'm trailing the walls, I'm making a mental map of, oh, there's a chair here. And because I was sighted too, that helps. And because I did art before I lost my sight, that helps as well. But you're making mental maps, you know where you are. So you're developing these mental images. It's like if you've ever taken orientation mobility training, which is the training where you learn how to use a white cane. The first thing that, if you've been sighted, the first thing they do is put a mask over your eyes. At least that's what my O&M instructor did, because your brain is going to continually put images up for you. So like if you're walking down a sidewalk, in your brain, you may see a clear sidewalk. And in reality, you may be about to walk into a tree or a pole or something, and you start learning that these images that I'm seeing in my brain, they're not really necessarily attached to the world outside here. They're just in my brain. And so you start learning to really listen to what like that white cane is telling you, what your sense of touch is telling you. And you start learning to put together sort of a visual idea of what the world looks like. And for me, because I was a visual artist before I lost my eyesight, it was just sort of a natural thing for me to start building the images in a way. Like I was in my hometown, so I knew what the sidewalk outside my house looked like. So as I'm walking down it, I'm imagining what it looks like. If I hear a car go down the street, though, in my mind, I may see a white car, when in reality, it might be a red pickup truck, could be a motorcycle, could be somebody has their TV up too loud and it's just car sounds coming out of a TV. But in my brain, though, I'm seeing an idea of a car going down the street. So it's hard to, it's hard for people to understand, I think, at first. And especially in our society, we're very visually driven.
Yeah.
They say like seeing is believing. If you don't understand something, they'll say, oh, you're blind to it. But the actual mechanics of perception, of the way that the brain puts vision together, it's fascinating to me. It's so interesting, and so little of it actually has to do with the eye.
Wow. So, yeah, like somebody could be like, you could ask the question, well, if somebody has normal eyesight, could they still lack vision? Or if could you, or like, what I mean, like somebody could have, or what I mean, like vision is like more all encompassing than like eyesight. The concept of vision. Well, I guess people use it as a figure of speech too, about having vision, because vision involves internal vision, involves imagination. So you're going to have, and then you could say that people really need to develop creative imagination in order to develop, to be creative. You're going to be more resilient. And when you're more resilient, you can deal with an ever-changing world.
Yeah, for sure. And also, and I want to say too, that the way that I paint today, this is me painting 20 years later, and I paint every day. So when I first started, it was very simple drawings. I was only using 2 or 3 colors. I didn't do any blending. I didn't do any shadows. I couldn't mix colors. It was very, very simple. But the wonderful thing about art is that if you can do it a little bit, then you can do it more. You're always adding a little bit. And that doesn't matter if you're sighted or if you're not sighted. Every artist finds their own way. Every artist, whether sighted or not sighted, they come up with their own techniques, their own systems. And you learn, and every day you push it a little bit further. Like under here, right before this, I did a little drawing of a tiger's eye. Here, let me put this down. Okay, sorry, I'm back. So it's still night. It's still a little wet. Okay. Okay. So this on this is a piece of paper with a tiger's eye. It's sort of a simple drawing, but it's done with a paint that I mix that leaves a tactile line. So every black line on here of this tiger's eye, And what I drew, just to verbally describe it, it's a very close up view of an eye. And when I first started painting, something like this would have been way too complex for me to draw. I would have had to make it really, really big. So it would have been like maybe 3 feet wide and 2 feet tall, and it would have taken me hours and hours and hours to draw it, maybe even a day or two. So over time, I've been able to speed up, and I've been able to use much more complex, I guess, techniques. Not that complex, but more complex than when I first started. But if you were here and you were to touch this, you could feel every line here. It has sort of a rubbery kind of feel. So I mixed different mediums in with the paint to give it a different texture. Like the paper it's on is very smooth, and every line on here has a bit of a raised edge. When I first started drawing, though, this would have been too subtle for me.
Yeah.
So my first lines when I first started drawing were very, very thick lines. And that's one reason the drawings had to be so big, because I would have like these really thick, ropey lines. So, and I just want to mention this because, art, it's just a step-by-step sort of process. So if somebody who's visually impaired, if they're hearing about my paintings and they're wanting to get into art and they think, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to work on a landscape, or I'm not going to be able to do a portrait or anything like that, don't worry about that. That's not a good place to start. Starting with just basic shapes, working with colors, that's a wonderful place to start. But here's the great thing about it. I started painting because, well, I didn't think anybody would ever see a painting of mine. That wasn't even a thought in my head. I started painting because I'd always used art to be able to deal with bad times. I had a lot of health problems growing up. I was in and out of hospitals a lot, and art was a way for me to deal with it. And whenever my eyesight was going and whenever my eyesight left, I was very angry and I was extremely depressed. And I'd always used art in the past to help deal with that. And I just needed that back in my life. So I started to adapt those O&M techniques to be able to draw again. Never thought it would work. I never thought anybody would ever see a painting of mine. Never thought it would really. I just thought it's something for me to focus on. It's something that's positive. It's something that's helped me in the past. And what have I got to lose? I really felt like I don't know, like I couldn't do anything positive in my life at that time. I was so depressed. So working on this was just something for me to focus on and do. And the great thing about art is that, when I've got paint on the end of a brush, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not worried about anything in the past. I'm not concerned about anything coming up in the future. I'm just thinking about getting that little dab of paint where it needs to go. And I'm in that moment. And it's like I'm in a vacation. So the stress just starts to drop away. And the longer that I paint, the more I'm in that vacation and the more it helps. So when I was first starting and I was making these giant, thick paintings, like drawings with no mixing, no blending, very, very simple sort of things, it was helping me as much as the artwork helps me today. So, and that's still why I draw, it's still why I paint today, because it helps me.
You need a tissue, Diana?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, bless you, sorry.
There's one
I heard
right
someone
there.
sneeze, I wasn't sure.
You can reach over and grab it.
Yeah, okay. I have tissues. Oh, we have a question from Lisa in the chat. Do you ever ask your wife to describe something if you are doing reference for a piece of art, or how do you go about researching something that you can't see a picture of?
That's a really good question. I've done like if I'm doing a portrait of a person, I try to meet that person. Like I've done portraits of lots and lots of different musicians, like Jeff Bridges, lots and lots of different singers and different athletes and stuff. So that somebody that's living, that I can touch their face, then I have techniques where I can basically break their face down like a composition. And it sounds complex, and I've taught it to lots and lots of people. And when you start doing it and you actually start putting your hands on a person's face or an object and breaking it down, it actually starts clicking, and you think like, oh, this isn't hard at all. Oh my goodness. And I've actually taught it to sighted people because it makes it really easy to remember things. But One of the most exciting things, though, that I think this is just brilliant, and this is something we started working with the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Dallas Museum of Art, and about, 10 to 15 years ago, when it was technology, so that if you're a person who is visually impaired and you're going to a museum, it makes the art more accessible. So using the different devices to be able to like take a photo of the artwork and have it on a device, and it's changed over the years, and it's always getting better. So so there's apps out there that'll let you take like a photo, and it'll reduce that photo into lines. So let's say if it's of a painting, it'll take that painting, it'll just make it into black and white lines, and as you touch the screen, and your fingers go over the line, it'll vibrate and it'll make a sound. And if it's a thick line, it'll make a like a deeper sound, and it'll vibrate more. And if it's a thin line, it's kind of a reedy sort of sound, and it vibrates less. And you can change that. It depends on which app you're using. It's just incredible. For me, that works really well because I'm very touch oriented. I'm just used to touching. It's the way I paint is through touch. So for me, that makes sense. There's also other apps though that can change color into different sounds and can change the lines and stuff into sounds, which blows my mind. It doesn't work very well for me, but there's other people it's just the bee's knees. Like they're like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. And it's just getting better all the time. It's just incredible what's out there. Of course, there's printers. Like there's been Braille printers out there forever. Well, ever for a long time, 70s, 80s, where they'll print out Braille pictures. It reminds me of they're very blocky. Like the last video game when I was sighted, the last video game I could play was Mario. It was like the old Nintendo, like blocky Mario kind of guy, and that's the way that those images kind of feel like to me, very blocky. But they're much better now. They have new braillers out that they use this sort of oh my gosh, my brain, I can't think of the words. It's like a ink that's a raised ink. It's like an embossed ink. It's kind of rubbery, and that gets much more deep detail. And they'll put in like different codes for different colors. Maybe stripes means red or dots mean blue, and that kind of helps. But the new apps that go on the touchscreen devices though are so nice because you can zoom in, zoom out. So if it's too much detail and you're not able to understand what it is you're feeling, you can have it reduced resolution. You know, for instance, like if you were looking at a picture of the Mona Lisa, you could just do like the bust of it, like the outline of it. So you get the idea that, oh, it's a head shape and shoulders. And then maybe you can have it come in a little more detail. And then you can feel, I can kind of feel where the eyes are and the lips are. You know, but it gives you an idea of the composition, the size. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. But the main thing, though, is that technology is just exploding.
When did this start?
Oh my goodness, it started about 10 years ago with the I'm terrible at time though, so I know I'm off by a factor of a few years or so. So it's probably a little more than that. But it started like with the museums because they're wanting to be more inclusive. So at first it was different programs that you could sign up for. And one thing that you can do is contact the museum, in your area and see if they have any sort of what kind of programs they have, especially programs for non-visual guests that are coming there, because very often they'll have docents that are actually trained to give verbal descriptions of the artwork, and they'll have some different things to feel. If I've done some work there, then they'll also have things to smell, things to touch, things to artwork that you might reproductions of artwork that you can actually feel and touch. All kinds of really neat things. But not everywhere, but a lot of places that it's becoming more and more and more.
Yeah, that it's I've never heard of that before. I mean, I became legally blind in 2017, and technology has progressed since then, with all kinds of aids, Be My Eyes, all that stuff. These Ira glasses and all that, but I have not heard of these apps for art. That's interesting.
I'm a huge nerd. I always have been. I don't know. I love computers before I lost my eyesight. course, that was a long time ago, and the computers are much simpler back then. I don't understand them as much now, but the things with the different apps are really cool. Like one that I use right now is called The Voice. It's a bit much though, to be honest. Like they throw everything in the kitchen sink into that thing. Like it's a little crazy. Like it's a lot to handle. Like it'll, depending on what you have activated on it, it'll tell you which direction you're facing. If there's any signs, anything in the room, it'll just start reading it to you. If somebody walks by, it has like this radar kind of function. It's like, wah, 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 like it lets you know. It's just weird. It's too much for me. I need more scale down. And I use one called, oh my gosh, I can't think of what it's called. Gosh, I can't. Maybe it'll come to me. But if you go on to like the different like app, like the Google Play or the different things. Yeah. There's lots to play with. One problem that I've noticed is that it seems like they're always beta testing these apps, and every once in a while I'll get sent one, and I'll get to play around with it. I'll try to recommend it. Say, oh, you got to try this app, and it's not out yet, and they're still working on it. Like there's one that I'm using, and I can't think what it's called, and it's not out, but it's pretty cool. It's really buggy. It makes my phone crash every time I try to turn it on. It works, but then I got to reboot the phone every time. So I don't know. Let's get better.
They got to work out the bugs.
Yeah. Oh, there's one thing though that's free. A lot of people will use screen readers. Like I use NVDA quite a bit. I use JAWS as well, which is another screen reader. But I like NVDA because it's actually free and it's open source. So like JAWS can be pretty expensive. But NVDA is open to everybody, and you can put it on a thumb drive and you stick it into a computer, and then suddenly it's a talking computer, which is awesome. And it has a mouse function on it where it'll make sounds depending on the color of a pixel. So you can actually use NVDA to start understanding like different pictures. It's a very rudimentary kind of way, but it kind of gets you started for free. Being able to listen to the mouse, or if you have a touch screen, you can touch the screen as you're going across, and it'll make sounds. If you're touching a line, it'll make sounds for it. I like it because it's free.
Because the way you describe how you do your art reminds me of like when you first started, how it reminds me of like you were trying to like teach yourself your own form of Braille, like art, like the visual language of art, as if it was Braille, like a different language, and you're teaching it to yourself.
Yeah, I sucked at Braille at first. I thought Braille was impossible. I thought, how in the world can anybody learn this? This is ridiculous. Everything felt like the letter A to me. Just felt like one dot. And I really want to stress that everything that I do, there's nothing special in the techniques or anything they do. It's just basic orientation and mobility techniques. I just use the same techniques that you use to get around with a white cane, and I apply it to a canvas. So the same way that if you're walking down a sidewalk and you feel the cracks in the sidewalk, you feel a tree, that tree's a landmark. They don't move trees around. So when you find that tree, you know exactly where you are. It's the exact same way on the canvas. I have these lines that I can touch and feel. And when I come to a line that crosses another line, I know where I am. Because I put that line there. It's the only place I could be. Like here, I'm on the pupil, and I know because I have a big block right here. So there's nothing special about the techniques that I use. There's nothing expensive about it. There's nothing, anybody can do it. And a really cool thing is that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of visually impaired people are painting now. And one of the wonderful things I think too is that because I use O&M, like the way that I get around, I'm using those skills while I paint. And everybody that uses this sort of way to paint, like their O&M skills just seems to explode. Like we teach it to schools for the blind now. So children who are visually impaired are starting to learn how to paint. In the schools for the blind in about 7 different states now. So one of the things they learn is how to paint. And we're being sneaky because they're actually learning their cane skills too. And every kid I've ever met hates the cane because it's so much easier to take someone else's elbow, but the cane, it teaches you how to be an independent traveler. So it's really important to know how to do that. but we can be sneaky and we can teach them how to paint, and they're learning those cane skills. And suddenly their ability to get around a room, their ability to find their friends, ability to go get an extra piece of paper when they're eating, to remember where the glass is, where an extra like roll or something is, it just starts getting better and better and better. Because every time that they're painting, they're having to remember, oh, I put this line here. They're feeling it. They're touching another line, and they're making mental maps of that. And they're like, oh, if this is here, then down here it's got to be this other little bit that I put down. And so it's just every day it gets a little bit more elaborate, a little bit bigger and bigger. And it blows my mind. Like what took me 3 or 4 years to learn are taking these kids weeks. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
so
slow, I
amazing.
think. I don't know.
Well, kids are like sponges, man. They pick this stuff up quick.
Oh
Isn't
yeah.
that the
You know,
truth?
it's like when you get older, like myself, things are take a little longer.
Yeah. And I want to see too the way that I paint. If somebody who's visually impaired, if you try painting my way that's not working for you, I really want to stress there's thousands of visually impaired painters out there now, and everybody has their own way. And a lot of people will have like a way, like have something similar to mine, and they'll go off, they'll riff on it, they'll do their own thing. Some people are doing something completely different, and there's no wrong to it. The wonderful thing about art is that you find your own way. You find something that works. If it works, it works. So it's just brilliant.
When I worked in manufacturing, I was a printer all my life. And when I had to train an individual on a printing press, they usually would split the shift, and the guy would be with me for 4 hours, and then 4 hours with a different operator. They wouldn't necessarily put one operator throughout the whole training. So there are times that the person that I was training would ask, "Oh, so-and-so doesn't do it this way."
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, "This is how I do it and how it is comfortable for me. It is what I'm teaching you is not etched in stone. I have 20 years experience and Joe has 25. So together we have 45 years of experience that you are learning. So you could take a little bit of what I'm showing you, and you could take a little bit from the other operator showing you, and maybe combine the two together and come up with something completely different that fits your needs. The bottom line is to get the job done." So, there's many different techniques. It's not just John Bramblitt's way, right?
Right.
So, if things don't work with the way you are doing things, you can try, other things. And a lot of times you learn something from the person that you're training too.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm so glad you said that. That's one of the things. All my workshops are free. And I've learned so much about art from doing these workshops and going to different people and seeing different techniques. I mean, every classroom is filled with minds that are interested in art and trying things, and they're questioning. And it's just a wonderful experience. And like I mentioned, I'm a huge nerd. I get really excited about art. I get really excited about disability awareness. So being in a classroom somewhere and being able to talk about art and stuff it's awesome.
We have 2 questions from the chat. Let's see. Do you ever worry about oils from your skin affecting the painting?
No, I don't. I don't, because at the end of the painting, I always put a good varnish on it, and I want my paintings to be able to be touched. So I use a high quality paint that can stand up to that, and then I put a varnish on it that'll help protect it, and so it allows the painting to be cleaned as well. So if it does get dirty, then it should be okay. And the varnish that I use that also helps protect from the UV lights to help keep the colors nice and fresh.
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I don't worry about it too much. Maybe I should.
What is your most memorable moment teaching VIP kids?
Oh my goodness. I taught this one class, maybe, gosh, I don't even know how many years ago, terrible time, but it was in Austin, and it was for about 300 to 400 families that came in, and we were in this huge center, and we had all these, we had so many volunteers who were helping, and everybody was painting, and a lot of the children were there, were visually impaired, but it was the whole families. And I remember this one family, there were these two boys, one was visually impaired and one wasn't. And the parents were just so, I mean, they were so happy because the boys had never like sat down and drawn together or done anything like that before. And because I was going over my techniques about how to draw, how to use color and all this. And I asked everybody to draw their home. And one of the most interesting things to me, I think, is that the one boy who was sighted, he drew the house, and it's sort of the house that maybe we can all picture in our minds that maybe we've all drawn, where it's sort of a house. You've got a tree outside. There's a sun up in the sky. The family are outside of the yard. You know, he drew his mom and dad, him and his brother, and it was great. And the house, you know, looked like their house. Like he drew it the way he thought his house looked like. Well, his brother, who was visually impaired, right next to him, he couldn't see it all. And he was also drawing the house, but he was drawing like a blueprint of the house. So you could see where every room was, like where the kitchen was, where the living room was, the hall.
Yep.
And the wonderful thing is that both boys were right. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you put both their drawings together, you got a better idea of what their house looked like. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so it wasn't like one was right, one was wrong. You know, it was just different perspectives. And I thought, man, this is art. You know, this is people putting their own ideas out there and sharing, and that just makes everybody's ideas, you know, grow.
Aside from your own website, you're on a website with other disabled artists. Is that right? Can you tell us about it?
It's mostly my website. I know I'm on an NFT website where that we're doing. And I can't think of what that website is.
That's what that is. It's an NFT website, but but it features disabled artists.
Yeah, and so my I can't talk. Sorry. So my website is just Bramblitt.com, and like everything on mine is just my last name because it makes it easy for me to remember. Like Instagram, Facebook, and all that. It's just my last name. But yeah, I'm on this other website because we just started putting out some NFTs, which is kind of exciting and it's fun. Like I don't know a whole lot about that, so it's a learning curve and it's really interesting. But it's going to help raise some money for a nonprofit. And I can't think of the name of the website because me and names is just my brain is like Swiss cheese.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it either. It was a while ago that I saw that website.
Oh yeah, you know, I work with different nonprofits and charities, so I might be on a different website, like you know, we may be trying to raise money for something. But yeah, I don't know.
Does anybody else have questions in the chat?
What, Lisa?
Have you ever painted sidewalks?
Have you ever painted sidewalks?
No, I sure haven't. I painted buildings. He's
done buildings and murals, but yeah.
Yeah, I've done some four-story murals and some long murals, but I've never painted a sidewalk. I did a thing once where I was doing a live painting on canvas while some sidewalk chalk artists were making all this amazing sidewalk chalk art.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I couldn't see any of the art, but my wife walked me around and was describing all the artwork to me, and it's just incredible to me how creative people can be. Yeah. It's just, especially like there was a lot of 3D kind of immersive sort of sidewalk art where, like, you know, it was going down into the ground and just, I don't know. It was hard for me to imagine, but it sounded really cool.
Is there a different process that you use for mural painting? I mean, it's similar, but you have to expand on your process or something?
Yeah, it's a little different, but it's still similar in a way. It depends on what what it's going to be on. So if it's on brick, I have a paint that I get from Bear brand paint, and it's a black paint that it kind of soaks into the brick a little bit, and it feels kind of gummy. And I'll use that to draw with, but I always do the painting on canvas first. And my wife, she has a degree in photography. She'll go out and she'll photograph the building, and then she'll take that and make kind of a blueprint on a canvas. You know, she'll put where all the windows, all the pipes, and everything are, and that's the canvas that I'll do my painting on. So I can actually feel like where a doorway is, where a window is. So I know in my painting, like if it's a woman playing a guitar, I know, oh, the neck of the guitar is going to be where the second floor window is, and her hair is going to stretch to this drain pipe. So when I'm up on the wall, I've got some reference points to start with, you know, because I have my canvas right there, and then I start using that paint that I can touch and feel, and I just start gritting it out. So so it's a very methodical kind of thing. If it's like a tall painting, like if it's like one of the 4-story paintings, then I'm in a lift, and she's generally driving the lift, and she has a digital copy of the painting, and we have radio, so I can radio back down to her and say, "Hey, where's that tree? Like, where is that?" And she'll say, "Oh, it's like 10 feet to your right." I go, "Oh, okay, I know where I am. So it's actually a lot of fun because in my studio, it's just me in here. But when I'm working on a mural, I get to work with her. So it's fun. We get to chat, and I don't know, it's fun.
Because the town that I live in is right outside the city of Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is supposedly, I don't know if it still is, but it has the most murals of any city, and we have a big mural painting organization.
That's really cool. I would love to come to Philly and do that.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was wondering if you've been doing murals. I was wondering, like, if you'd never been contacted by them, or you.
No.
Maybe Philadelphia doesn't have the most murals now. I'm not sure, but they used to.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, and most of the work I do isn't murals. It's studio. Like I mostly do commissions in my studio, and I love doing murals. I don't usually seek them out too much. I usually wait for someone to come to me because murals are work. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I bet they are.
It's a backbreaking kind of thing. It's like I'm used to doing paintings this size. This is nice. It's like 2 feet or 3 feet maybe. But murals. The wonderful thing about murals, and the reason I started doing it, was because it's really good to get a message out there. So a lot of times people don't think about people with a visual impairment being able to paint, and what services are out there for people with visual impairments. I mean, it's just incredible. Even the guide dogs, like my guide dog Eagle, the guide dogs now are different than how the guide dogs used to be. Like they're trained in different ways.
How are they trained?
Like my dog Eagle, she knows the difference between a men's bathroom, the ladies' bathroom. I could be at an airport somewhere and say, "Eagle, find the boys," and even though she's never been in the airport before, she can find the men's room. She knows there's been a urinal in a stall. She'll remember what chair I was sitting back at. She'll find the elevator. She'll find the button for an elevator. It's just so many different things that make you so much more independent. And a lot of people don't know about this. They don't know that there's apps out there that if you hold it up, it'll read signs to you or it'll read a menu for you. They don't know that there's a whole different way of training guide dogs. And some of the guide dog schools still train the old way. Some train in the new way, and so you've got a choice. You can, if there's a choice to be made. So I don't know. It's good to know.
I just wanted to quickly just say hi to some people in the chat. Hi, passion for art. Yep. And Edward and our friend Anthony from Grayscale Painting.
Chris Miller.
Chris
Chris Miller. Hello, Diana Fairchild.
Diana Fairchild, yes. I think I said Edward. I think that's everybody.
And Edward came in with 2 channels: his Smart Aviation and his Edward Smart.
Oh,
channel.
that was the other one, Smart Aviation. Yeah, so that's Edward, huh?
Yes, that's Edward also.
Okay. What?
Does he listen to art? I mean, does he listen to music when he's painting? And if so, what does he listen to?
Do you listen to music while you paint? And if you do, what do you listen to?
Yeah, actually, I do. I have like a setup for a small club in here. It's a little over the top, but whenever I hear music, I see color. I always have all my life, and so for the artwork, that's sort of a big thing. And that's actually what led me to painting that 737 was because it was for that Rock in Rio concert.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't that I was visually impaired or anything like that. They wanted me to paint. It was because I see color with music. They were like, well, it's a concert. That's perfect. So, there's all these musicians here. Well, you can listen to the music and you can paint something. And I was like, heck yeah, I can. That sounds great. But I listen to all kinds of music. And it's actually kind of a nice thing because I do a lot of commissions. And it's hard to explain emotion sometimes. So, like, let's say if a wife wants to have a painting of where she first met her husband, and they love to go hiking and all this, and that makes and they just love that. It's really special for them. And she wants a painting that'll commemorate what that feels like to her. That's hard to say in words. It's hard to express. It's hard for her to describe to me. Mm-hmm. But I can ask her, well, what kind of song makes you feel that way, or what artist makes you feel that way? When is there like a band or a musician that just captures that moment? And that's a lot easier. She can say, oh my goodness, yes, we have a song. And then every time I hear that song, it reminds me of my husband. And so I'll listen to that while I'm working on the painting, and I'll try to capture the colors from the song and put it and use that as the palette for the painting. And, I think that's one of the things, like losing my eyesight, it opened my eyes up, ironically, I guess. I don't know, about to thinking about color in different ways and thinking about perception in different ways, and so I think in a way that helped my artwork.
Yeah, music is a big deal. I kind of dabble in the Native American flute, and they say that when you're like stuck in a rut or something, or you're not sure of what type of melody to play, you could play the landscape. All you have to do is look at the horizon, and anything high and low, like, so you have a low spot, maybe a valley, and then there'll be some trees, and then all of a sudden there'll be no trees and it'll be back down again, or maybe at a mid-range, and you just play from left to right the horizon.
Wow.
That's cool.
That just blew my mind, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can go up and down the flute just like the horizon.
Wow, that's really cool. That makes me want to paint. It makes me want to try that with a painting and try the different colors with it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a Native American concept.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the Native American concept, but there have been some Native Americans that have all kinds of tips and tricks.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're just stuck in a rut or something, just simply play the horizon around you. Let nature play.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's so cool. That's why I love to meet other creatives. I've never in a million years would have had that idea. Mm-hmm. That's just brilliant. And it makes you think about music in different ways.
I mean, you hear music. When you hear music, you see color. And then what little vision I have, when I look at the horizon, I can change that into music. The total opposite.
Wow. That's awesome.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, me? I just want to say thank you so much for letting me be here and chat, and for for everybody that's there, that's listening, and honestly, we all have to stick together with all of this, being creative. And so I appreciate you guys letting me do this, and I want to encourage anybody, if anybody has like a question that they thought, oh man, I wish I would have asked John that, draw me an email, go on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and ask it, because please. And I do a really terrible live stream on Facebook, and every Tuesday at 8.
Oh yeah, it's on Tuesdays. At what time? Tuesdays.
At 8 p.m. Central.
Oh, 8
But
p.m.
it's just me
Central
sitting in the studio.
is your Facebook live stream.
It's
And I noticed you do a live stream to Facebook and YouTube, but on you, I bet I've watched you on the YouTube side, but you never see the chat. You don't see the chat. You can only see the chat on your Facebook side.
Yeah, it's weird, and we're trying a different thing now, because I used to do the YouTube, and now I don't hardly give any love to my YouTube channel at all, and I need to. I'm horrible with social media. Like that's one of the things that like an artist should be good in this day and age. That's something you should really be good at. I'm terrible, but I try. So it's all I can do to get it on the Facebook and to do the chat. But if anybody has any questions or anything, or you're getting into painting, or you want to try a different kind, or you wonder, hey, I'm visually impaired, I want to try watercolor, I want to try acrylic, I want to try oil and caustic. How do you have any ideas about how maybe I can get into that? Reach out.
I don't think in caustic, caustic involves hot molten wax. Because I've spent a lot of time painting in caustic. It dries instantly, so I guess you could see where you've painted right after you've right after you painted it, and because it does dry instantly, but right when you paint it, it's molten wax. So
it is. It's a challenge. A challenge for me.
And his contact information is in the description box below. His website and his YouTube channel, which I guess if you want to contact him, it's best to contact. Probably you have your contact information at your website, right?
Yeah, and email goes to me and my wife, because, like I say, I'm terrible with social media and all that, and she makes sure that nothing falls through, because she's the brains of the operation. But yeah, if anybody has any questions about anything, because if you're like me, I would always think of a question after. I should have said this.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to love, this is back in the day when there were records, LP albums, that kind of stuff. The younger generation probably doesn't know much about it, but I loved going to record stores, and I would have all these ideas of what artist I want to check out, or maybe buy, or look it up and see the album cover and look at it and all that and decide. But when I would go the day of to the record store, I could not remember what I wanted.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, so that goes the same thing with questions. When you get put on the spot, you're like, oh, I know I had 1,000 questions, but I can't think of one.
That's funny. I remember that. And I live in a college town, and we have some used bookstores, and they sell records. And we have some record stores here. It's all very hipster and stuff. So lots. But I remember back in the day looking at records, and you're trying to understand what the music might sound like. You're like, oh, do I really want to buy this? And you're trying to think like, oh gosh, I don't know. But that was a long time ago. But trying to understand if the band's good by the cover art.
They were big cover art on those.
Yeah, that was big. Like right now, so music now doesn't even involve much cover art, right? Or any?
Oh, yeah, those.
I don't know. Does it even involve any cover art at all now?
It does a little. I've done some CD designs, but it isn't like it's like a thumbnail probably on someone's screen. It's not even. It isn't like back in the day when you would get like a giant LP and it's like a painting, that you would get, a piece of art that you can display.
There was an actual album made by Journey, and it was textile, and it was the Journey Escape album.
Ooh.
And it was tactile. Tactile.
Really? I'm gonna have to look for that.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was tactile.
I'm gonna have to look for that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, when the spaceship was exploding out of the planet or whatever, there was shard pieces of glass everywhere, and all that shardness was tactile.
That is cool. The the next time I'm in one of those stores, I'm going to look for it. I just want to
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
Super cool.
You said that was a Journey album or Rush? You said
No,
Journey.
it was Journey.
Uh-huh.
Journey. There might have been other tactile ones, but I can't. Journey just popped into my head. That one. I mean, there's thousands of album covers there. The art is so amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say too, I'm a one-trick pony. The only thing I can do is paint. Like, I'm not good at anything else in life, really. But one of the things that I've noticed too is that I always just talk about painting, but I meet so many different creatives. They're into different things, like they're into quilting or they're into pottery, and if you're using, like for me, I noticed that because I use the O&M techniques, it helps me get around. It helps me to orient myself, to know where I am. And people that are using those same techniques doing different types of art get the same benefits.
Yeah.
If you're doing sculpture, but you're practicing those O&M techniques in your sculpture, and when you're doing it, makes your sculpture better, but it makes it so much easier to get around. And it's just incredible.
Sometimes a disability is a blessing, because sometimes, believe it or not, vision gets in the way of things a lot. When I lost my sight completely for that 8-week period, I did get some of it back, but it is very little. So I'm in that legal blindness category of 20 over 200 and less than 10 degrees visual field in one eye. The other eye is completely dark. But when I had surgery done and my eye collapsed and hemorrhaged, during that 8-week period, I saw nothing. And all of a sudden I started noticing my hearing is a little better. The smell is a little better. It's not like I have superhero strength. It's just the vision now is not occupying my brain and distracting me. And it forces you to focus on all your other senses and talents. And you actually are more aware of everything around you than you are with just vision, because there's people that walk around with 20/20 vision and don't have a clue where the heck they're at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. It is funny because a lot of times someone will like, you'll say, "Oh, hey," and they'll say, "How did you know I was here?" Like, I thought, well, you're breathing, you're moving in your chair, like you're,
Yeah.
People make a lot more noise than they think they do. I never noticed it before the vision,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, the vision starts making you get into a taking for granted lazy mode. You know what I'm saying? You need to really focus and pay attention on everything that you're doing. And the vision sometimes gets in the way.
Yeah, I think so too. People get so just, well, it's just like what you said, and you can see it in a museum or a gallery where it's all just for sight, and which is so silly, because art is meant to communicate ideas. It's supposed to express everything about people. And all through life, people are walking down the street, they're smelling things, they're feeling things, they're hearing things, they're seeing things. But then you go into like a museum that's supposed to, be like a celebration of this message of being able to communicate with people, and then they just limit it down to vision, and that just seems like a big mistake that hopefully is being corrected now.
Yeah, Lisa put in the chat. She says that you can't steal a cookie because Paul will hear you chewing. Yeah, she snuck a cookie, or no, I think it was a peanut M&M. Oh, was it? And I was like, "What are you doing over there? What did you take?"
Yeah, that's
I go, wait a
that is
minute,
something.
you're not
Yeah.
sharing? What's going on over here?
Yeah, that is something I've noticed. I definitely hear people eating more.
Yeah, that could be a blessing, and it could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It all
I
depends
never
on
noticed.
how the person eats.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
I
Yeah,
know.
along the lines of what you're saying. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Diana.
Well, along the lines of what you're saying about how physical vision can be a distraction because your internal vision actually is more important for your own spiritual growth and stuff.
Well,
That's your
that too.
internal
Exactly.
vision is more important.
Exactly. Good point, Diana. Very good
Yeah.
point.
that is true. You know, and I know I used to draw before I lost the eyesight, and if I did a drawing of a person and if it looked like the person, I would think, oh, that's a good drawing. And then after losing the eyesight, it became more important that it felt like the person. You know, it's like I started beginning more interested in perception because a family member could walk into the room and everybody would see the same person. Everybody would see like the haircut they had, the clothes they're wearing. So everybody's getting the same information,
Yeah.
but everybody has a different feeling about the person. You know, like
Yeah.
you may think like, oh, I want to be friends with that person, or I'm going to go say hi. Somebody else might say, oh, no, that person reminds me of my aunt so and so. I don't like that. So the feeling is different. You know, even though the visual perception of it all is the same, and so I started getting really interested in that. Like, what's on the inside? Like, I love what you said, Diana.
Oh, I have a quote by Helen Keller. Helen Keller said, "The most beautiful things in life," and I'll say maybe the most important things, but she says the most beautiful things in life aren't what you can feel or touch; it's what you feel.
Oh,
What you see or touch; it's what you feel.
that makes sense.
That's pretty deep, yeah. I mean, because I cannot imagine.
Maybe she said "feel with a heart." I have to look up that quote again.
Well, you know, it's just I cannot imagine being blind and deaf.
Oh no, I know.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's wow.
Yeah.
But the spirit still goes on. The human spirit goes on. You don't just shut down. And her blindness and deafness didn't define her. So,
No.
you know, she inspired a lot of people.
She sure did. She was incredible. You know that the last time I was in Brazil, I went to the School for the Blind there, and they produced materials for all different countries in South America. And they actually had an office that it was a recreation of Helen Keller's like room, and it was just the weird. It was weird. It was crazy, but it was so interesting because it was a way for them to teach about Helen Keller. You know, because everything was, you could actually walk in there and touch everything and move things around, and it was so interesting. And then a bust of Helen Keller, so you could feel her face. You could. But it was so interesting, and I don't know. It is incredible what she was able to do. How much hope that she's given for people.
Yeah. Yeah, that quote must have been not just feel, but feel. Not the most beautiful things in life aren't what you see or touch. It's what you must. I think she said, "What feel with a heart." That's what she said.
You got to see the big statue in Rio. You got to experience it.
What big statue?
I think there's a big statue on a hill.
Okay, this is a very vague question. Lisa wants to know, did you get a chance to see the big statue in Rio?
Yes. Well, I got to go there.
Okay.
And it was really, really busy. But the really cool thing, though, is that there's 1 million stores around there that sell miniature versions of the statue.
Okay.
So I got to feel a whole lot of those. And I actually did some drawings and sketches. I have to draw and paint every day. When I'm traveling or whatever, I have to paint every day. So I did a bunch of little sketches of the statue. They're not very good, but you know they help pass the time. You know what? But yeah, I was able to go there, and that was so much fun.
She wants to know, is it as big as it looks?
I think it's bigger. Like, I was really surprised. Going up there, we were in a van or something. I think that I forget who. I don't know if it was like a TV thing that I was doing with them, but they put us in a van and they had us like wind up like around this mountain, and then we got up there and finally got to the top, and there were so many people, but it was interesting though because you could hear everybody kind of like their voices change. You know, when they got to the base of it,
yeah,
you know, it was so much quieter, even though it was a big crowd and going up around like this spiral that you're walking around, and everybody's laughing and they're talking, and then they get to the base of it, it's a lot quieter, and lots of people are laying on the ground to get photos of it, you know, because you have to lay all the way back, I guess, to be able to get it when you're that close to it to get a picture of the top.
Okay.
So you got to be careful. How to be really careful not to step on people.
Well, hopefully your cane would, find them before you step on them. But
yeah, because I had the cane then.
With the cane wouldn't be that good either.
Yeah, I know you're just walking people over the head. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the projects you're working on now?
What am I working on? I'm about to do a mural for Children's Hospital.
Oh, nice.
Where? There's a big children's hospital in Philadelphia, but I guess they're in many big cities.
Oh yeah. And so I'm doing that, and what else am I doing? I'm working on a lot of commissions here in the studio, so I'm working on that kind of stuff, which is a lot of fun because you get to chat with people and figure out projects and stuff with that. And there's another project we're doing, but honestly, I can't think of it right now. I swear, it's Sunday, and I guess my weekend brain's on, even though I paint every day. I mean, it's there shouldn't be any difference.
The murals that you have done, do you have a list of these places? Maybe people could take a road trip and check out some of your mural work.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, we're probably on the website. I'll have to check.
Okay.
Things come and go on there, and but
so johnbramblitt.com.
Not John. It's just Bramblit.com, and it's listed in the description box.
Okay.
His website and his YouTube channel are in the description box, and it's just Bramblit.com.
Okay, awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm about to do a small mural in Fort Worth, and one somewhere else, but I swear right now I cannot think. But we're trying to put together a list though of places where we're going to be showing art this year, and with COVID and everything, it's like you usually plan like a year out, but with COVID, it's like you don't want to plan too far out.
No.
You mean solo shows?
Yeah, solo shows and group shows and even talks and things. So there's lots of places that generally will schedule their speakers a lot further out, but because of COVID, it's they're not sure. Are we going to have it? Are we going to have it in person? Or are we going to not have it in person? Are we going to have the meeting at all? Or a gala? Or are we going to do this or that?
Is there any group shows you're in that are for blind artists or disabled artists?
Not that I can think of right now. But it doesn't mean I'm not. I'm so sorry. But no, I can't think of any right now. I swear. I have to read all that.
Upcoming shows are probably on your website, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm the worst, guys. I have to ask the boss.
Yeah, you have to ask the boss.
No, because a lot of times people put that stuff on their website. I would imagine it would be.
Yeah, I would think so. And I know
upcoming shows.
Yeah, I know, and that's usually the way it is. And I know that.
And it's projects. I saw on your website, projects is one of the categories. You can look in projects.
Yeah, and all that's gotten a little willy-nilly since the COVID thing because, there's events, they get canceled or they get reorganized or the dates, and you're not sure. And
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how current. I mean, I think it's current, but I don't know if it has like all the new stuff or all that. It's funny with the COVID thing. Actually doing stuff in person has been a real challenge. Thank goodness for the internet and being able to reach out that way. So that's been good.
Absolutely.
It's a really good question. I'm sorry I have a terrible answer for it. But I'm really hoping. It's one thing I miss so much is I wanted to go and do more of the speaking in person because I'm not a very good speaker, but I love meeting people and I love, going to places. And generally, if a place brings me in, if a museum or if a group of company brings me in to speak, I'll generally end up doing workshops and stuff. The workshops are free, but then I can work with different nonprofits in the area because I'm there. So and that's kind of the icing on the cake for me. I get to meet people and I get to talk with people and get inspired by people. And so I'm really hoping all this starts to ramp back up and COVID decides to take a break.
I think it's open. Everything does seem to be opening up. Maybe and where you're especially in Texas, isn't it opening up?
Yeah, it has. I think there's a few shows I know that right now haven't been canceled. So so that's good. So I know this spring I've got a few here in Texas. There might be one in Santa Barbara.
I think Texas is a little more open too, so you shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, I hope so. It's funny. It opens up and then it clamps back down.
Oh, really? Oh,
a little bit, but it's been good for a while.
Okay.
It just depends. Especially a lot of what I do is talking to schools and going to universities and to elementary schools, high schools, and those have a tendency to shut down before anything else. It seems like.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other questions. Anybody else from the chat? Jordan just joined us. Jordan, coming to us from Ireland. He just joined us. Any questions, Jordan, or anybody else?
Ireland. That's one place I haven't been that I would love to go.
It's expensive.
Well, that's what I've heard. I might wait a while then. I definitely want to go. I have some friends that live in Ireland, and my family originally came from there, so it'd be interesting to go there and just check it out.
Well, you just got to know somebody, so maybe we'll all just show up at Jordan's house.
There we go.
Dublin, I think he lives right in Dublin.
Yeah, we'll just show up at your house, Jordan. There'll be a whole plane full of us. We're just like, we're here.
Whole plane full of us.
We didn't make any reservations because we can't afford it.
That sounds like an idea to me. Let's do it. I'm in.
We'll go on a plane that John is going to paint.
Yeah, there we go.
He does. So Jordan does have a question, but Jordan joined us late. So let's see. Hold on. Hopefully he won't ask too many more questions that we've already answered, that you've already been asked. But let's see. Hold on. Yeah. Has he ever used Braille in the actual painting? Have you ever used Braille or actual 3D art Braille in your painting?
Yeah, I sure have. I don't do it very often, but I have. There's one painting that's called "Feel It," and it says "Feel It" in Braille in it, and I've kind of hidden Braille in some places too, in some paintings where it's stars, and some of the stars will spell things.
Oh wow!
There's other times where there's raised Braille in the painting, but it's just part of the sketch where I was just writing in purple here, red over here, it's just different colors because I was just trying to work it out in my brain. Mm-hmm. And maybe it wasn't completely covered up, so every once in a while there's just a little random Braille, but not too much. I want to incorporate more Braille in the artwork. One of the problems that I have is that in the past is that it has such a rigid structure, and if it doesn't have that rigid kind of structure, then it doesn't work as letters, so it needs to be, like, an S needs to look like an S, obviously. Pardon me. So when I do that, it looks kind of mechanical, and most of my paintings are kind of flowy and bright colors that are crazy. So when I put that mechanical thing in there, it has to. It only works in certain parts, but I'm wanting to work on some more abstract pieces that have a lot of just crazy thickness. It's just really fun to touch, and to get giant Braille dots and stuff coming out of that, I think would be really cool.
And that's pretty good talent, because according to Diana, abstract art is actually maybe even sometimes harder than just painting a cat. You know what I mean? Because you have to make those colors work.
Yeah, that's true.
It can be. It depends on the artist. Some artists, they think their abstract art it's just more natural, comes more natural to them than, say, your realistic art. And then I know some artists were more representational art. They find that abstract art was more hard for them. So because of that.
But it's cool that you can do both, John. That's cool.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can do it well, but but it's fun to try, isn't it?
Yes. Do you since you got that fourth camera set up, do you have any other paintings you can just show off?
Oh, let me see. Well, let's see. Gosh,
So we got that tiger eye there, and
yeah. I wasn't sure if y'all wanted me to paint, so I made that tiger. Let me try not to knock anything over. Here's that one that I started with. This is what I'm actually working on right now. So it's not finished.
Okay.
But if you can see where the tiger eye was, where it was all black lines. When this first started, it was the same sort of black lines. So I started carving up the
wow, that's
canvas.
incredible.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
I said that's incredible, this painting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, the perspective of it, show with the depth, and is amazing.
Well, I appreciate that so much. Thank goodness. It's a commission, so
yeah, it looks like you could just walk in.
That.
Yeah, it looks like you could just walk into it.
Well, thank you. To verbally describe it for anyone that can't see this, it's an 18 by 24 inch canvas. And it's horizontal, which means it's wider than it is tall, and it's a landscape. And there's a lake that's taking up about the first bottom half of the painting, and then there's mountains that are taking up about the other half, but they're coming in from the side, the left hand side to about the center. And then from the other side, a little lower down towards the center, and they're kind of overlapping, so that there's some perspective. There's
perspective.
There's some on the right, and then behind that there's some on the left, and then behind that some on the right, and then behind that some on the left, and then there's water that's sort of going around the channels, and there's evergreen trees that are on the mountains, but it's kind of sparse, so you can see the rocks, and in the colors. The rocks are orange and yellow and pink and purple, lots and lots of bright colors.
Mm-hmm.
And the water is the same. The water has some blue, but it's mostly, well, on the right hand side there's a lot of blue, but on the left hand side there's a lot of yellows and oranges and greens.
Yep.
And then down towards the bottom is some ground, and there's two people that are silhouetted. And I'm not sure how good the camera picks all it up, but the guy actually has some blues and purples in them, and the woman has some oranges and reds. But it's made so that when the light starts to dim, at least the idea that I had was that when the light starts to dim in the room a little bit, that they just sort of black out. It just sort of becomes a black silhouette. Mm-hmm. But when the light is bright in the room, then there's a little bit more colors that come off them. Oh my God, Eagle just woke up. Hey, sweetheart. Sorry.
Anthony from Grayscale Painting would sure appreciate that, because he does a lot of those types of paintings.
Oh, that's cool. They're nice. They're
the perspective type, where you have a point and everything is like proportioned in line to that point.
Yeah, that's called
uh-huh.
2-point perspective, right? That's 2-point perspective.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, where you can,
You're
one
the
nice thing
major, Diana.
I know. I can't now. I just all of a sudden, I usually know this by heart. And now I'm like, wait, when maybe it's 1-point perspective. Now I can't think if it's 1 point or 2 point.
I can't think of anything today. We've already established that. but it's nice though. I love doing a painting like this where it's more free flowing, and it's calming. And then the painting after this is going to be a little more of a technical painting. But that's nice because you don't really get bored. You can mix it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But I should say, here, I'm going to show the tiger eye real quick, because the paint that I use for this is that sticky sort of paint. It's the same way that I drew this out. So I just started to block off the painting in different areas, just to carve it out. So you're just carving up in different areas. I repainted the people at least twice, maybe 3 times. I painted like this mountain maybe 8 times. It's one of the things I think people think about art. Like if you watch Bob Ross or something, you think, oh, the first stroke has got to be it. For most painters, for most artists, you'll work at it, and you'll make mistake after mistake after mistake, and that's perfectly fine. That's brilliant. So if you don't get it right, it's going to look terrible all the way until the end. And if it doesn't come together, you still spend a lot of really good quality time where you're taking a mini vacation and you feel better at the end of it. And if that painting doesn't turn out, you learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've got a whole rack of paintings over there that are terrible, and I love them. They're my favorite paintings because I made mistakes on them, and I learned how to paint a little bit better from each of those paintings. So the next painting was a little bit better. So whether they end up good, whether they end up bad, they do the job they're meant to do.
Well, there's that saying too: beauty is in the eye of the beholders. So I'm sure if you showed some of those paintings, you'd find somebody that'd like them.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. Well, you know what? If you're ever down here around Dallas and Denton, you need to come by the studio, and I'll show you them all, and you'll see some that even a mother wouldn't love them.
Yeah, I would scratch my head. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're like, what in the world were you thinking here? But that's all part of it.
That's an accurate description of the creative process. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you had said that. Oh, that maybe that you could paint while you're talking.
Yeah. It'll take a while though.
Oh, it takes a while to set up. You mean?
Well, here, no, I can show a little bit. Let me not knock things over real quick. Yeah, let me show real quick. Let me grab something. Okay. Haha. So one of the things that the way that I mix paint is by using different mediums, and a lot of times people may not know what a medium is, and if you break paint down to its simplest sort of form, it's basically color, which is the pigment, and it's something sticky that's going to hold it together, which is the medium. And most paint kind of feels similar. Like if you get acrylic paint, every color feels pretty much the same. It's all made out of the same kind of medium. But there's other things you can mix in with it. So right here, I'm not sure which. There's a label on it somewhere, but this is it's a heavy structure gel, and it's this one hasn't been opened. Ugh, making a mess.
And then you've got it to the point too that you not only by touch, but you also feel the weight of the paint on your brush, how you know how much you have.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it's like when I first started painting, I had to use a tiny brush, and I would make little dabs of paint because I never really painted. So, I mean, I've always drawn before when I was sighted, and I didn't really know what paint on the brush felt like. So I would have to make a little dab, then I'd get more paint, make a little dab, get a little more paint. But over time, I could use bigger brushes.
Yeah.
And you start to understand what it feels like when it has paint on it, how it glides and it starts to drag.
That's incredible.
And just sort of the subtle little things. It's kind of like when you learn how to ride a bike. The first, you're thinking about every little aspect, like, and then after a while, you're not thinking about riding a bike at all. You're thinking about everything else, And so it's the same sort of thing. Let me show you this. So I'm going to hold up this stuff. There's nothing really to see, but it's thick. Like it's really, really thick. So if I take this medium, if I mix it with, let's say, titanium white, it'll make it feel like toothpaste. But let me see. Okay, this one, it's an acrylic flow release, and it's kind of like water, but it's a little thicker than water.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. It's not like paint chips. Somewhere between water and pancake syrup. So if you mix a paint with this, it makes it kind of a slimy, not really slimy, kind of a slicky oil sort of feel. But
feel like oil. Huh?
So this is a varnish. With this, if I mix it with a paint, it makes it feel kind of slimy. With this particular varnish and with the particular kind of paint that I use, different paints can feel different. So you can use all these different things to make colors feel different. Here, let me put this away so that I don't knock this stuff over. Now, I'm trying not to fall out of my chair. Let's see. Oh, I found some wet paint. Okay. So, there's also, you can buy paints that already have these mediums and stuff kind of mixed in with them. Like here's let me see. I have all my paints. I braille them, so I know I can just read the label on it. But I'm really lazy when it comes to brailling, so I put the least amount of letters that I need. So this is a TW, so this is going to be titanium white, and this already has a high flow mixed into it. But if I take this high flow and I mix it with this other high flow, it feels even different. So I can use this. I can mix that other. I get two different textures. There's also artist inks. So here's an artist ink, and I'm sorry, stuff everywhere. But it also reuse these bottles. So this is a bottle. It used to have artist ink in it. Now it has a pink color, but it has a high flow medium mixed in with the varnish. So now it's kind of a slimy sort of paint, but it's pre-mixed, so that just saves me time. So that's basically what I do with that. So here, let me show you. And the way that I paint, it's an old way of painting. I block in the colors. So if you've ever seen Bob Ross, or ever heard about Bob Ross painting, he paints alla prima, where it's sort of a wet on wet. It's almost one stroke painting in a way. It's very fast, really quick. And he painted other ways as well, but he's known for his 30-minute paintings. Well, that's great, but you need to remember that's only one way of painting. So an older way of painting is called blocking in color. So let me block in some color. Bop, bop, bop.
Welcome, Alec. Welcome.
And I'm afraid watching me paint is kind of like watching paint dry, but I will try to make it interesting. So let's see here. Okay, so what I have here is a kind of a close-up view of a tiger's eye, and I put in a little bit of titanium white with some of the black to make it a little gray. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take some burnt sienna that I have a medium mix in with.
Diana, you want to put them on the big screen?
Okay, just a minute.
Because he's actually showing a technique here, and I think it'd be better blown up.
So what I'm doing now is I'm filling these lines, and I know that I want to be to the left of it. Now, one of the ways that I paint, one of the things that I do to be really nice to myself is that I break things down into steps. So once you add all the steps together, then it can seem very complex. And you're like, oh my goodness, how did you do all that? And you break it down into little steps, and it's not that big a deal. Like when I first started, I started with a sort of kind of a, what do you call a cat's eye? Kind of cat's eye, kind of an elliptical. So I started with that, and then I made like I could feel this, and then I started making a line to the left, then I made a line to the right. Didn't like it. I whited it out. You can't see it because it's whited out.
Right.
Then I started curving around, and that's the thing. You don't really have to be able to draw. Whenever you make a line that you don't like, and it's not really doing what you need to do, you just white it out. And or for this, when it's wet, I can mush it out so that I can't feel it anymore. And when I put the white paint on it, it makes this black paint where it isn't tacky for me anymore. So it's really not so much about not being able to see it. It's more about me not being able to feel it because then it disappears for me.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm just putting brown around here. So I'm just feeling things trying to go. And if I make a mistake, if I go down too far, if I go up too far, it doesn't matter. This paint that I'm putting down, it has a very slick feel to it. So I can feel this paper is smooth, but this is slick. So it almost feels like oil. So paper, oil. And then all the black here is kind of tacky. So it's raised a little, and it I don't know if you can hear. I'm going to stop talking for a second because maybe you can actually hear it grabbing my finger.
I can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that is, it's almost like a rubber cement, kind of, but not as rubbery. It's a less rubber cement. So basically, with painting, I have this idea. Okay, I want to put this sort of orangey brown color, the burnt sienna, all around. And I'm going to block it in. Now, by the final part of this painting, if I was to do the whole painting, there'd be all these other colors that are going around it. So you're actually covering up maybe some of the work you did, but this is just called blocking in a painting. So there's a way to draw, and a drawing is like when you do a nice drawing. It actually looks like something. If you're thinking out loud on paper, it's sketching. You're making lots and lots of lines, and everybody can sketch. So you can put a line like on the pupil. I can put a line here, and I think, oh, it doesn't work. I'll put another one, and I'm feeling it, and I'll think, oh, finally this one kind of is where maybe it should be. So that's the one that I'll use. I'll white the other ones out. With blocking in, you're trying to figure out color. So you're like sketching with color. If you make a mistake, it's no big deal at all. That's what this is for. So I'm just getting a lot of orange around here. Pardon me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over here. Let's see. Okay, so I brought my paintings. This is a red. That's not going to work. This is yellow. Okay, so that'll work. Here, and I'm gonna try not to put my face in front of this camera, guys, because for all you who are watching this on a camera, I don't want you to have an exploded view of my face. I'll try to spare you guys from that. So what I'm gonna do is I mix that yellow with a little bit of the flow release to make it feel just a little bit different. And what I'm gonna do, so I can feel in here where the in the center of the eye where the pupil is going to be, and I'm just going to put in some of this yellow. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want this to be a really colorful sort of eye, but I want it to start with the yellow. So that's what I'm doing. The gray that I put in earlier, by the end of this eye, it's not going to look gray anymore. So let me give you a nice little hint on how to take care of color. And this is something that the master painters used to do. They were so sneaky, but they would actually do a painting, and one way they would do it is called griselle, where they'll do it in all black and whites and grays. So if you think about the lightness and darkness of something, trying to get that tonal quality, where you have like the lighter areas, like let's say if light is hitting this eye, it's gonna reflect in some places brighter than others. You can start putting that in by just using grays, and you don't have to worry about color. You're just thinking about how light or dark something is. So let's say if instead of an eye, if you were painting a landscape and you were wanting to, sorry, I started thinking about painting, and I'm one of those people who can't chew gum and walk at the same time. I was feeling what this paint felt like. A landscape, and you were wanting to have the light maybe be darker underneath the tree, but lighter out where the grass is. Then you could use a lighter gray out where the grass is going to be, and put darker grays where the tree is. So later, when you're putting the paints in, like maybe you're putting the green in, and you use a slightly transparent green, it'll automatically start being darker underneath the tree, and automatically lighter on the outside. So it just makes an easy way for you to get subtle shifts of color without having to work too hard for it. So I just got a little bit of green. So you can see by this, I've added a little bit of yellow, and now I'm adding a little green. And I'm just doing it kind of willy-nilly. I know this looks terrible, and that's perfectly okay. With this type of painting, whenever you're blocking things in, everything is going to look awful until you're done. You just got to learn to live with it. And if this painting doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm having a lot of fun working on it.
Except, don't you feel more pressured with commissions?
Nah. I probably should. I'm not smart enough. No, I do commissions different, and I do commissions the way that they say never do commissions this way, but I never take any money down for a commission. So if somebody contacts me and they say, "Oh, hey, can you do a painting of this or that?" And if it's an idea that I think, "Oh, maybe I could do a painting like that. Maybe, that sounds really great. It'd be interesting." Then I'll say, "Yeah," and I'll send like a price list. We'll try to work all that out, but they don't pay me anything. And then I'll do the painting, and I'm doing, and I'm really excited about the painting. It's one that I think maybe I could do. It's so I'm really excited about it. And if I get to the end of it and they get first refusal, and if they don't like the painting, they don't. That's perfectly fine. One of us likes it. So I'll keep it, and I'll have it to put in a show, and
okay.
and it opens a dialogue with the people, because sometimes it's hard to describe, like someone will say, "Oh, I want a painting," but it's hard to describe exactly what they're thinking, and I understand that.
Yeah, right.
And when you buy art, I don't think it should be a terrible experience. Like, it shouldn't be a hardship.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to pay for a painting that they don't want. And I've got to paint every day anyway. So if they tell me an idea and I'm excited about it, I'm like, heck yeah, let's give that a try. And then if they don't like it, they can usually say, which is rare, to be honest. I'm unfortunate. Most people are very forgiving, I guess. But most of the time, they're like, "Oh, I like it," or they'll say, "Oh, if it could have been this or that, or a little change," and then I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. If I think I can do it, then I'll do it. If not, then I won't." But we always stay friends, so that's the main thing. So on the painting, I'm adding a little bit of that pink paint that I was talking about earlier, that I've added these different mediums. So I'm just doing that on the top, and then I wanted a little bit more shadow on the bottom. I took some titanium white, which here I'll show again. Now I want to show too that this is basic brand paint that I'm using for this, because I like the way it feels. A lot of times, if you go into an art store, you'll see all these paints. Some of them are crazy expensive. I have some crazy expensive paints. I have some crazy expensive mediums. You don't need crazy expensive paint to make a good painting. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money to be able to get the benefits from art, or to make good art. One of the main things about what makes the student quality paint, which this basics I was just showing you, is the student quality paint. What makes the difference between that and a professional quality is the pigment count. So very often, and there might be other things like binders, but for this, it's the pigment count. Now for me, I'll add pigment to the paint anyway. So, and I add different mediums to it. So I really start mixing it up. So using a basic.
You add pigment? Like, what do you mean you add pigment?
Ooh, let me show you. Okay. So here, let me get get this. Let me go through. I've got a million paints over here. Okay, so this is a lemon yellow, and it's a Liquitex basic paint. You can find it at any art store, which is nice. Because when I'm traveling and I need to get a replacement paint, I try to find stuff that feels the same. So being able to have something that I can get anywhere is kind of nice. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll take another kind of paint. So this paint is actually a higher pigment paint. So it's the same. It's a lemon yellow. And I don't know if you're sighted, I don't know if you can tell a difference in color or not. But one of this has more pigment. So I can mix this in with this other paint, and it'll give it a bit of, it'll change the transparency. It'll make it a little more transparent, and it'll make it a brighter color.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the nice things about that is that if it makes it a little transparent, so like on this eye where I have all the gray under here and I have green and I've got this yellow that I'm putting in, I can start putting in different colors. If the colors are semi-transparent, it'll let the other colors shine through a little bit. And then you'll start getting a buildup of colors, which is really nice. So if you're working on an eye or leaves or water, where there might be subtle variations in color, using a little bit transparent paint really helps with that and helps keep things from being muddy. So I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff out there, but remember, it's all just ideas. You can get one, you can try one idea one day. If it works for you, then that's great. If it doesn't work for you, then that's great too, because you learned something that didn't work for you. So you'll never do that again. So I'm just adding some different variation in this. So I won't be able to finish this eye during this sitting because the paint's going to have to dry. I can do a little bit more on it. But the idea for this is to keep adding these different transparent colors and to build it up so that I'll have semi-opaque where it's like highlights and lowlights, and then the transparent colors going off that'll add a little bit of depth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does it? Because I get really excited about art and talk. So, and sometimes I get into painting and I forget. So here, let me show you really quick. So I'm using some raw umber, and this is actually a very transparent paint, and I've already pre-mixed. So I'm really into pre-mixing things because when you start painting, it's nice just to be able to work with it.
That's what I'd like too. It's like I hate like stopping and mixing colors. I don't like that.
Yeah,
like having pre-mixed paints.
Yeah, it's nice, because I have to mix some of the colors, but if you have to mix every color all the time, this takes forever. And if you've kind of got a flow going, then it's no fun stopping. So one thing that I want to draw attention to is that I'm doing this really quick. I'm going kind of fast. I'm just sort of whipping the brush around. And part of that is because if you make a mistake, that's fine. And I'm painting first, so having I picked something that I could go a little bit more willy-nilly with. It isn't like crazy technical sort of thing. Because fur, it's nice to have fur be a little hapdash. It makes it look more like fur. So if I have it, okay, let me find this is the top of the eye. So up here, I know like I have strands that are going. So I'm just going to kind of hapdash through here, and it's going to make it a little darker, but it's not going to make it like a complete solid darkness. And I want to reiterate again, this is stuff I paint every day. So this is what I do. And so I'm a little faster at this. Like when I first started painting, I didn't blend colors. I used 3 colors was all I had. Didn't blend them. Didn't do any shadowing. And it would take me a month to do a painting. So a painting about the size of this board, well, smaller than this board actually, would literally take me a month. And I would paint 8 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've sped up since then.
Lisa was wondering, because you mentioned that you need to paint every day. Why is that? I mean, like she said, what happens if you don't paint?
My wife tells me I better go paint. I think I'm easier to be around. No, I still paint for the same reasons. Like I'm happy now. Like I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. I feel so fortunate. Like I'm able to talk with you guys today. I started painting to reconnect with people. I felt very isolated, very alone,
Yeah.
very depressed, very angry. Painting still helps me with that, you know.
That's very therapeutic.
Yes, yes, and it helps me just as much today as it did before. My skills have improved, my speed has improved, but the amount that it helps me has stayed exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how great a painter you are. It doesn't matter how great you are at drawing. The effect that it has on you is just incredible. It doesn't have to be painting. It can be sculpture. I was on a podcast the other day with a gentleman. He did quilting. He did some other different kinds of things too. But just it's just something that you're passionate about. Something that
Yeah.
it just, oh my goodness, thank goodness for art. I had really good people in my life when I needed it, but it was the artwork really that helped lift me out of that depression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid if I ever stop,
playing the flute, is therapeutic for me. You get to step away from reality for that little point of time playing, and actually just enjoy the music and play the music. And I can't read music. I wouldn't even know how to compose one, but I know melodies and I listen to everything by sound and putting different sounds together and creating a melody, and you just get lost in it and you just feel good inside.
Man, Paul, that's beautiful.
I would imagine that's the same for you, when you're painting, you just get lost in it. And it's hard to describe the feeling that you're feeling. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's crazy how you can go into like a zone where you could be creating something for 4 or 5 hours, and it seems like you just sat down.
Yeah. Vermont Paint and Photo says amazing work for sure.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hope this. I'm going to put a little blue in here. This could be a horrible mistake. Let's find out together. Okay, so this
G says she always feels off if she doesn't draw or paint for a while.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
I get that too. And it could be writing. I know one of the things I tried to do with my painting, I read once that Hemingway said that he wrote every day, and he said sometimes, it was like he wrote the words, and sometimes they wrote themselves, but he had to be present. So he tried to write every day, and his goal was just to write one true sentence. So this is a guy that won the Nobel Prize for lit, and his goal was just to write a true sentence, like every day, just something that he could be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that when when I play, sometimes if I don't feel up to it, or it just doesn't feel right, I don't want to force it because it just taints the process. It just, doesn't feel right. But, even if it's just for a minute, try to do it a minute a day or whatever, just to pick it up, play it, and put it back down. I mean, it's therapeutic and spiritual. So
yes.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And that's a hard thing though, especially, if you, a lot of times when somebody has vision loss, or if they have one type of disability, you often have other types as well. There's other things going on. And one thing that's extremely common if you have any kind of disability is depression.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to, give yourself that kick in the pants you need to do anything, if you're feeling depressed. And but one of the wonderful things about art, and any kind of art is that you're doing something that's positive. And when you're feeling depression, you're feeling sad, it just seems like nothing can be good in your life. But when you're working it with that sort of thing, with some sort of creativity, you're making a positive, change.
Yes.
So it's just, I don't know, it's just something I
It's
gotta do.
it's important to get out there and do what you love, and like I've been told that, okay, you may not feel like playing for a half hour. Well, just play for a minute, and then there's no rules, so I self-taught myself. I never took any classes. I mean, I watched a couple, I watched some YouTube videos, but when I got into meditation music, and a lot of it is these flutes, especially Native American flutes, and I can just listen to the music, and I can actually visualize in my head where he is putting his fingers on the holes of the flute, making that melody.
That's cool.
Just by listening.
Yeah, that's
Man.
cool.
Yeah, that I can't talk. That's awesome. I feel the same way. I think I've learned more about how to paint from actually touching and feeling other people's artwork.
Yeah.
How, I mean, I've read every book that I could on how to use a paint knife, a palette knife, and all that to be able to put paint on. And it was like, okay, I see what they're saying, I guess. But then actually meeting some other artists that work with paint knives and feeling their work, you could feel how they actually sculpted the paint with it, and they moved it around, and how they must have moved their wrists and their hands.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, that's what that means. Okay. And then able to get back and work on it.
Grayscale
I'm adding
paint
some black. Oh, I'm sorry, Diana.
Fascinating to watch.
Oh goodness. Well, thank you. I'm trying to keep paint off my fingers, but let's see.
I knew you would like it, Tony. He showed a commission painting that he did that was perspective, right, Diana? Is that what it's called?
I think that's 1 point perspective now that I think of it.
Yeah, and I know, Tony, you were doing some paintings like that. I caught one of your live streams and you were teaching that, and
that's cool.
yeah, John did a real good job on that one. So if you didn't see it, buddy, you can always rewind it. It'll be on the replay.
Yeah, man. If you have any suggestions on how to make it better for me, let me know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm through working on this painting for right now, because I have wet paint everywhere. So if I put any more on it, it's just going to make it smear. But I can tell you what I would do next. Eagle. Hey, Eagle. Actually, I don't know if you can see Eagle on the camera or not, but this is my guide dog, Eagle. Hey, sweetheart. So the next step would be to let this dry, and then start going in around the eye. There are some areas that are still white, so I want to put in some color there. I'm not sure what color, maybe purple or a weird blue, but I'll have to think about that. Maybe, I don't know. But all the black is kind of wet, so it'll just make it smeary. Yeah. And then on the eye, I have the base yellow that I put down first, and I put a little green, and then I put a little blue. And all that was really transparent. Then I put more of the white, which is opaque, to be highlights later. So I'm going to let all that dry. And then I can start glazing it with more transparent colors, and just start building up those colors so that you start getting an eye that has like a depth to it. Does it say depth or depth? I swear I can't talk anymore.
It's depth, yeah.
Good.
Well, I guess it all depends on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah. True. But yeah, but that's basically so you can see, like with a painting like this, blocking in the color, it's a lot more work than what Bob Ross does, because he's a magic man. He'll do one stroke and suddenly you've got a forest. But with this way, this is an old sort of way of painting, like Caravaggio. Gosh, I really can't talk. And it's some of the old like masters would block in paintings like this, and they would start using like light gray colors, and it's just a nice way to build it up.
Right. Yeah. Bob Ross wasn't. I don't think. Yeah, he painted. I don't know how much he used old master techniques, or I don't know, or how much of it was just his own creation. And
Yeah, he used all the Pigment technique. Really was his main technique that he at least he did on TV. But then
so that goes faster then when you do it like that.
yeah, because it's a wet on wet. Like you with all the Prima, you'll put down a like the background is wet very often, and then all the paint you're putting in is wet as well, and it's sort of blending together. There's techniques to be able to get like one stroke.
That's usually used for outdoors. Al Prima technique is usually used for like on the spot outdoor painting.
Yeah, you can do that a lot. Really, in any of this you can do, anywhere. But yeah, with all the Prima, it's nice that it's so fast, and very often outdoors. You're absolutely right. Because a lot of times, if you're painting, like at let's say a meadow or a pond, you're trying to capture that light. Yeah. If you're a visual sighted painter, you won't want to lose the light. So you'll paint with really quick techniques. But a lot of times you'll use those techniques to take that painting back to the studio, and then you'll use your slower techniques to actually do a more detailed painting.
Right.
But it just depends. There's no wrong.
Well, thank you. I can't believe we almost didn't do that painting when I had already when I invited you. I said, "Oh yes, can you show that?" And then I almost overlooked that. Sorry, we didn't get that till near the end.
Oh no! Thanks for bringing it up.
It's a good stream, Diana.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you to
welcome Life with Royalty Lifestyles.
Yes, Life with Royalty. I think I met them at Tuber Chat Network stream.
Oh, nice.
Pardon me.
Well, I guess we've almost gone 2 hours.
Lisa wants an eagle cameo before we go.
Oh, let me see here. Let me move this out of the way. And sorry, the studio is a mess, guys. It's always a mess. Yeah. Hey, Eagle. Hey, sweetheart. Eagle. Come here, darling. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to try to move this down. Can you see her? Is she there? Hey.
No.
Oh, there she is.
Hey, darling, come here.
Lower left-hand corner.
Oh yeah, she's cream colored dog.
Yeah,
she's a good girl. Here, let me try to lower this a little bit.
There you go. That's good.
Here. Oh, did that baby?
He's sweet.
He's so good. He goes, I don't have a treat on me. Sorry, sweetheart. Sorry. Oh. but she's a sweetheart. But Eagle is so smart. She's so sweet. She's a genius. Hey, Eagle, sit. Good girl.
Oh,
actually, you can go
what
lay back
kind of
down.
dog is it? Because I know guide dogs are either German Shepherd or what's the other one that they are?
Oh, lab.
Lab.
Yeah, they're mostly labs now.
Oh, okay.
And they're kind of transition away from the German Shepherds because the labs are just I don't know exactly why, but it's mostly labs now.
I hear that they've even done that with poodles.
Oh yeah.
The full size ones, not
right. Yeah, what else is that? Because it's a mix with a poodle and something else. At the guide dog school that Eagle came from, they started doing that for people that have allergies with dogs.
Yeah.
That and I think they tried that, but I think they're at least at that school, they're full on lab now. Yeah. It's black labs and yellow labs, but that's about it.
Yeah.
but they are sweethearts, and I love to go to the school, and because I get to play with the puppies, and the puppies are so great. They're so smart.
Now,
Not like a normal puppy.
did they name the dog Eagle, or did you change the name?
Yeah. With the guide dog school, each litter has a letter. So she came from the E litter, and the next litter is the F litter. But they do that so that whenever they hear the dog's name, they automatically know about how old the dog is.
Okay.
And so she's Eagle, and my first guide dog was named Echo, which is crazy because they both came from E litters.
Oh, I see.
Out of all the letters, I've only had E dogs, but E dogs are the best dogs so far. But you get a guide dog when they're about 2.5 years old, and they are incredible. I used a cane for about 8 years before I got a guide dog, and I've used a guide dog for gosh, let me see, 11 years, 12, something like that. But they're and having really great cane skills is so important. But traveling with a cane is wonderful. It adds to your independence, and it really lets you be able to get around. For me, traveling with a guide dog works better because it lets you go through crowds, and especially a lot of times, like if I'm speaking and if I'm doing things, it's much easier with a guide dog because if I need to run to the bathroom real quick, I can just ask Eagle, and she'll find it for me, and I don't have to ask another person. If I'm giving a talk somewhere, I can show her where the podium is, and then tell her, it's my spot, and then she'll remember. So I'll say, let's go to my spot, and then she'll take me up to it. And just a million other things. And plus, she's so sweet. Aren't you? You think a girl.
Well, you were mentioning that there's an old way and then there's this newer way that they're training these dogs. How what's the new techniques?
The new techniques it's called fines. The old technique, it was more about routes. So the old technique, you would the guide dog would just learn a series of routes. So they might learn how to get from your house into the bus stop, maybe from a bus stop to work, then maybe like where coffee shop or something is. But it was just certain routes.
Oh, okay.
With fines, it's a whole different sort of idea. So instead of actually just knowing a route, which they can learn as well, it's more about finding certain things. And she knows lots of different things. So let's say if I go into a hotel, she knows how to find the counter, to check in. So I'll say, Eagle, find the counter. And she'll look around. She'll see something that looks like a counter, and she'll walk me over to it. She can't find the room. So someone will help me find the room, from the hotel. But once we're there, when we get in the room, she'll actually remember which room is mine. So I just have to remember what floor I'm on. So if you're like in Vegas or somewhere, there's lots and lots of floors. I have forgotten before, and I'll wait to see if Eagle like the elevator doors will open. I'll kind of look at her and see if she goes for it. So then I'm like, oh, good, it must be my floor, because I have forgotten because my brain. And but then she'll find the door, and it's amazing because even if it's a different elevator, it's going a different way. She doesn't even hesitate. Like she'll just like left, right. Like she's just on it. And I guess it's smell, but it's not, and then with the bathroom, it's a smell as well, but it's like the same kind of training that they give dogs, like to find bombs or drugs or something.
Yeah.
So they'll use that type of training for bathrooms, and she knows the difference between a men's bathroom and a ladies' bathroom, and she'll find that wherever it is. If she knows the difference between a stall and a urinal, which is really nice because if you're in a place, let's say if you're at a Coliseum, you went to a concert, or if you're at a theater and you go into a bathroom and it's a big bathroom, and maybe they have one place that has one area that has a place to wash your hands. The other area has the urinals. With a cane, you can totally do it, but if the bathroom's packed, it's kind of a challenge because you're kind of tripping people. You don't know which way to go because you've never been in there before. So you're just sort of investigating, and you might ask some people, but with her, you just ask, I want to find the sink, and she'll just find the sink for you. You want to find the trash can? After that, she'll find the trash can. So it just makes it easier. then she'll remember where it was you were sitting. Sorry. Even if she needs to find a different way to get back there, she'll find your seat. Which she's a genius. She's a dog, but she's still a dog. So there's been times at the airport where I've had her find the bathroom and then have her find my seat back at the gate again, and someone else is sat in my seat, but to her it's still my seat. So she'll put her nose right in the middle of the person, that's sitting there. So I made some fast friends. She's always so friendly though. She's like, "Oh, this is the chair. This is John's seat." And, but
man, she's got it pinpointed to the seat. Wow.
Yeah, which is brilliant because before with the cane, I would travel alone very often on flights, and you have somebody that will take you through security and help you find your gate.
Yeah.
And then once you're sitting there, you're there, and you can't really explore. You can't really do anything.
No.
And sometimes there's not. It depends how close, how early you are. To get to your flight. Usually, you have to get there kind of early. And maybe nobody's at the gate, and nobody that works there is at the gate until maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the flight.
Correct.
And if you need to go to the bathroom or something, you just got to wait.
Yeah.
And hope there's going to be time,
Yeah.
But with her, it's fine because she'll remember exactly where my seat was. And,
Wow. Dogs are such amazing animals. It just blows my mind.
It's been like 12 years, something like that, 11 years working with guide dogs. And it still blows my mind. It really does. It's just incredible. It makes it whenever you're traveling, you're not like you're able to get through crowds easier. It's just you travel faster. Also with a smartphone, there's techniques to use a smartphone, and when you have a smartphone and a smart dog, you can really do all kinds of stuff. Like if you're at the hotel and you're bored, you can look on your phone and say, is there a coffee shop nearby? The phone will tell you where there's one. It'll give you directions, how to walk there. And I'll just feed the directions to Eagle, like Eagle, find left, Eagle, find the door. And then when you get there, your phone will tell you, you have arrived at your destination on your right or something. And then you can say, Eagle, find right, find the door. And she'll look to the right. She'll look for a door on the right. She'll find it. And if you get lost, like if you're like, oh, I can't find the coffee shop, she'll remember how to get back, so you'll find your way back. So you've got the ability to actually explore. And if you did, I've never been lost with a guide dog, but even if I did, I always have my phone on, or I could ask somebody, like, hey, where's the hotel? And I'm probably standing in front of it, but that's never happened with a guide dog. I've never been lost before with my cane I have. And I've always found my way out of it because I don't know, I like to explore, I like to mix it up a little bit. I wanted a hotel.
Well, everybody, don't forget to hit the like button for Diana. Diana and I do this every month. We've been doing it now for about a year and a half now, huh, Diana?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
So I thank Diana all the time for doing this. I'm just truly blessed to have John today. Honored.
Oh, thank you.
We started this, to just bridge the gap between the sighted and the non-sighted, because there's the communication gap that we need to bridge to educate. Because I've been on both sides of the fence, and so has Diana. Mm-hmm. And I believe you too, John, right? You saw at one point in.
Oh, yeah. I didn't lose my eyesight until college.
Right. So we kind of got like a little bit of experience on both ends to how to educate the sighted now that we're, blind, So I just want to thank everyone for coming. And speaking of likes, Diana, you have 10 likes.
I think 11 now.
Oh, so you know what that means.
Happy dance.
Oh, boy. What is this?
Oh, you don't know that? The happy dance? Here we go. Hold on. I used to do live happy dance. Now it's pre-recorded, different.
She happy dances to music.
Welcome
That's a beat
back.
to it. That's nice.
Yeah, that's me dancing around with animated emoji figures.
Oh, cool.
SpongeBob
Sounds
was in
nice.
there, and Winnie the Pooh, and
Oh, wow.
that was the older version. You didn't play the newer one.
Yeah, I know. I have actually 3 versions. That one and the second one are alike, except the music is different and the emojis are different. And then the third version, which is the newest one, is different music and different dance. Where I duetted a video with Be Amazing Sylvia on TikTok, and then so it's 3 of us dancing to the same music and stuff.
Oh, okay. You must have just recently done that.
In January, you haven't seen that?
No, because I've been busy, sweetie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're painting.
I guess you've been busy since December or early January, whatever.
Okay. I know the second one. I didn't hear of the third one. I'm gonna have to see it.
I could put the third one on as we leave, as we're closing out. I could play the newest one.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, John and Paul. But thank you so much, John, for sharing your time with us. It's an honor.
Oh, thanks so much, Diana and Paul. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much for letting me hang out with you guys this Sunday.
Yeah, no, you are amazing.
Oh, man.
You are amazing.
Well, thank you. I don't know what to say. I'm blushing, I think. I don't know.
And thank you, Lisa, for moderating. And thank you, everybody, for being coming here.
And everyone in the chat that was
those
in the
people that
chat
showed up
today is
today.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad we do this every month. It's awesome.
So we never know if we're going to do it on the first Saturday or the first Sunday. It's always up to the guests. I offer them Saturday at 5 p.m. or Sunday at 3 p.m. And then it's up to the guests to pick which date they like better. Okay. Thank you again, everybody.
Okay. Well,
thanks.
You guys, everyone, take care in the chat. I love you all. Thank you, John, again. Diana, I'll see you later.
Okay, if you want to stick around and watch the newest Happy Dance.
All right, I will. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you again. Bye.